Hello and welcome to the New Indian Express Online. I'm Bansy, Kalappa. With me is a very special guest. We have with us Professor Sandeep Shastri, who is one of the best political analysts across the nation. Well, Professor, first of all, welcome on the show.
Thank you so much.
So, Professor, now, how have the four phases of voting gone till now? What have been your biggest takeaways? Importantly, I am hearing that the big Modi wave that they were talking about is turning out to be almost a lesser factor than it was about 2 months ago.
Great questions, Bansy. I think each of the four phases of elections has been different because the states have been different. And I think the fact that every state in India votes and behaves differently has been clearly illustrated by the four phases. One thing disappointing in all the four phases is the fact that you have had a lower voter turnout in each of the four phases. Of course, lower voter turnout when you compare it to 2019 elections. And some would argue 2019 was a special election. And if you compare this election with earlier elections, it may have been more or less similar to what it was. Is there something one is looking out for in the four phases? I think what we had all thought of in the beginning, that this election will see the BJP focusing on a national narrative led by its Prime Minister. That's been there. But in states where non-NDA parties are in power, what they have done is they have focused on local issues. They have tried to contrast the NDA narrative with a very local narrative. So in a sense, when the results of those states will come out, it will be a decision of the voter on the choice between the two narratives. Okay. On your other question, has the Modi factor seen as much as an impact as it was thought to have? Now, from a BJP's perspective, yes, the Modi factor is critical because they have made it the centerpiece of their campaign. Everything revolves around the persona of the Prime Minister. What has changed is that notion before the election that this election sees no contest. That has changed. Very clearly in many states across the country there is a close contest, and in all states there definitely is a contest. So that one change you see as the election progresses.
Okay. Now when you look at the states, is there any key state that we need to be focusing on, before June 4th?
I think there are three key states or four key states for me. The first is Maharashtra, simply because other than the Congress and the BJP, there is no other tested party. All the other four parties are contesting an election for the first time. So which is the real NCP in terms of voter, which is the real Shiv Sena in terms of the voters' perspective, that will be shown in this election, and that's why Maharashtra is critical. A second state that is critical is West Bengal, where the BJP has made a very concerted effort to try and do better than it did last time, and the TMC has been working hard to retain its ground. And what happens here could ultimately determine where the NDA stands in terms of its seat share. A third state which is important for me is our home state of Karnataka, where BJP won 25 seats last time and this time contested only 25 seats. So what would happen here would, I think, define and decide how strongly BJP does in South India. And finally, the fourth state important for me is Uttar Pradesh. Sending such a large number of MPs to the Lok Sabha, how Uttar Pradesh pans out is important, and it's often said the one who wins Uttar Pradesh wins the larger national pool also.
Now, since you spoke of Karnataka as being one of the important states, now when we look at Karnataka, there are two big issues. One, on the India side, there is the Congress government and its guarantees. They have been talking about guarantees right from the word go. On the other side, there has been this deterring factor, that is the pen drive issue. So, how do you really see these two issues? And, considering that BJP won, like you said, most of the seats last time. So technically they are sitting at 27 seats out of 28 with JDS and with that independent.
Yes. In Karnataka, the pressure on the BJP is much higher Because as you said, they won 25, one independent backed by them won, and one JDS won. So the alliance has something like 27 seats. Now, being able to retain all of them is the challenge they face. And I think there are three types of challenges the BJP faces in Karnataka. Challenge number one is what you mentioned. A very, very resurgent Congress which is focusing on its guarantees and appealing to the people on the basis of what they would say is the guarantees they have implemented. A second factor which you mentioned, the embarrassment caused to the BJP by the developments within the Janata Dal. That I think is another embarrassing factor for them. And a lot of people are saying, let's watch carefully the direction the women's vote goes, keeping this factor in mind.
Considering there's a guarantee already drawing them like a magnet in one direction.
And there is a third factor. I have not seen in previous Lok Sabha elections the BJP facing internal contradictions at the state level. And that you are visibly seeing this time in Karnataka, especially in seats which went to the poll in the second phase of the campaign, of the polling. You visibly saw a rebel here, a discontent there. So I think these are the three factors which the BJP is grappling with in Karnataka. They are going by the fact that they have won Lok Sabha elections last two times with the Prime Minister's image, and they are hoping that would take them through this time. While it will help, I think the three negative factors we talked about are also something that need to be seen as offsetting the impact of the Prime Minister's presence.
Also, one criticism that people have raised about BJP is it has been the party with the maximum seats. But when you see the candidates being given the seats, most of them either belong to Vokaliga or Lingaya. A few Brahmin, and in the reserved seats, the reserved candidate. Will that lack of a social engineering cost them here?
You see, they have changed candidates in close to half their seats. Because many of their sitting MPs had done 2 terms and in some cases 3 terms also. So they tried to offset any anti-incumbency by changing quite a significant number of candidates. Now, this may have worked very well in a state like Gujarat or elsewhere, but here, given the internal dynamics within the BJP where half its MLAs have won elections on other party tickets, 1/4 of its previous cabinet in Karnataka were people who had won the election on another party ticket. So, given all these factors, this changing of candidates, you may have brought in a new candidate, but in many cases the sitting candidate was not fully part of the campaign, and that has impacted the BJP quite strongly. And as you rightly said, some people argue the social coalition that should have been created was not there. The social coalition in terms of the candidates who they put up. There is that rare sprinkling here and there of the non-dominant OBC candidates who should have had a much larger share. But then to be fair to the BJP, the Congress had its own share of challenges. Its senior leaders were not willing to contest the Lok Sabha elections. Ministers put up their relatives as their proxies. So there was that challenge from their side also. So both parties faced their challenges.
Also, we've seen Mr. B.S. Yediyurappa. He's been like the number 10 in football. You know, the star striker, someone who's able to shoot goals at will. He has been very subdued this time. Do you think that will cost the party some amount of, otherwise success which could have come there?
You see, after the assembly elections, the BJP central leadership decided to empower Mr. Yediyurappa, made his son the state party president and gave him more or less a free hand. And many would even argue that in the selection of candidates for the Lok Sabha election, he had a major hand and his influence was writ large. But then looking at the rebellion which developed in the party post-announcement of candidates, I think Mr. Yediyurappa was forced to take a back step because there were a lot of fingers of accusation pointed towards him and his family for what happened. So while he was very active in the campaign, that energy and enthusiasm which we saw in his campaigns in the past was not present here, but that could be two factors. One is what I mentioned just now. The second, I think, is age is also catching on. And to expect him to continue to do what he did for the last 30 years would be, I think, very unfair to him.
Okay. Maharashtra has been looked at as a swing state. So, do you see this helping the Maha Vikas Agadi in a big way? That is the possible sympathy in favor of Uddhav Thackeray's Sena and Sharad Pawar's party.
You see, both in the case of the Shinde Sena and the Ajit Pawar NCP, they may have had the larger number of elected representatives on their side in terms of the MLAs and MPs. But this election is a test as to whether your ground level supporters, your voters, who do they legitimize as the actual Shiv Sena and the actual NCP. And as you rightly said, Uddhav Thackeray seems to be having and gathering some support as the one who inherited the Shiv Sena legacy. And many would argue that there is a strong sympathy in favor of Sharad Pawar, somebody who is in the evening of his political life, and then you have the nephew doing what he did. So that sympathy factor, many people say, may work in favor of the NCP. Now, but on the other hand, within the ruling alliance, the BJP is contesting a majority of the seats there. And will the BJP be able to manage on its own to do well? Because it looks as if their allies are sinking. But while sinking, will the allies take the BJP also with them is the critical question. Because it looks to be that the BJP, the Uddhav Shiv Sena and the NCP led by Sharad Pawar is the one who seem to be in the front foot, with the others being on the back foot.
Now, talking of Bihar, this is one state that BJP virtually swept last time. But this time, thanks to the challenge of Tejasvi Yadav and the RJD Congress alliance, the BJP is facing a kind of a bigger than expected challenge. How do you look at this?
If you notice, 3 days back, among the various points the Prime Minister made while in Bihar was the point that last time one seat did not come to us, this time we want to get all these seats. Right? That was expected as a campaign statement. If you look at the reality on the ground, many would argue the BJP is in a reasonably comfortable position thanks to the leadership of the Prime Minister. So they may do well in the seats they are contesting. But many would argue the same may not be able to be said about the JDU and the other allies of the BJP within the NDA in Bihar. They, especially if you look at the seats they are contesting, we saw a very, in some cases, very low voter turnout, in some cases a higher voter turnout. So there is a view that the flip-flop which the JDU leader consistently did may damage the prospects of the JDU, and many believe that the two forces to look out for in Bihar in this election are the BJP on the one hand and the RJD on the other. These two seem to be doing better in the Bihar election. So what I'm arguing is BJP seems to be on a reasonably safe wicket in Bihar, though the NDA does not.
Now, looking at Rajasthan, this is a state where Congress was in power just a few months earlier, but now it has gone to the Bharatiya Janata Party. So, looking at Rajasthan, how do you see this panning out? Because some opinion is that Congress could still win a few seats there. So,
let's remember that in the last Lok Sabha elections, the BJP swept Rajasthan. They got all the seats of Rajasthan. This time around, even though the BJP was voted to power a few months back in Rajasthan, there have been developments since then. There have been internal convulsions within the BJP in the state. There is a segment of a caste group which has been upset with the BJP. And the Congress seems to have put its house in a little order, and they have fought this campaign very vigorously and very united.
Fairly united.
And so I would not be surprised if a few seats are still snatched away from the BJP in Rajasthan. So a clean sweep seems a very difficult possibility, and you may have actually the Congress doing better than what it did last time.
Now looking at India's largest state, Uttar Pradesh, there are 80 seats up for grabs. So how do you see BJP? Will it be able to retain its footprint? Will it have to cede some area to SP and the Congress?
There are two factors here. Last time the BJP won 62 of the 80 seats and its allies won 2 seats. And the remaining 16 seats were shared by the BSP, SP and the Congress. Now, this time around, the BSP seems to be still struggling in the state. The Samajwadi Congress alliance seems to have picked up, and it will be interesting to see how this alliance does, because they have gone away from the conventional mode of giving tickets more to the people from the Yadav caste. They have given it to others. And this, I think, is the first major election where Akhilesh is himself leading the charge in the absence of the father. So that is an important test in UP. To counter that, I think many would argue if any state has a strong impact of the mandir construction, it is UP. And that is a factor which the BJP is hoping will be in their favor. So BJP looks at retaining much of the 62 it has and claiming a few more. But I think UP is in for a tough contest. And the fact that UP is voting in different phases and quite a few phases are still left, I think the shift that you see in the campaign of the BJP from the first 2 phases to the next phases basically focuses on seats in UP, Bihar and West Bengal, where the contest is still open and still on.
Absolutely. Now, Home Minister and former party president of Bharatiya Janata Party, Mr. Amit Shah, in an interview predicted that this time the South will go with the Bharatiya Janata Party. He said in Telangana they could win up to 10 to 12 seats. In Andhra, he said up to 17, 18 seats. In Tamil Nadu and Kerala, they're seeking to open their account. And in Karnataka, they're seeking to do fairly well. So, do you think this is a legitimate expectation?
Last time, the BJP won 29 seats in South India. And 1 seat was won by the NIE. So out of 130 seats, they won 30, which is around 22% of the seats. I think whether the Home Minister will be proved right or not largely depends on Karnataka. I think in Telangana they would increase their numbers beyond 4 because the competition is essentially between the Congress and the BJP.
Except in MIM pockets,
of course, they would presumably do well. In Andhra, the numbers you mentioned are the alliance numbers. The BJP itself is contesting 4 seats. So hopefully they must be expecting at least half those seats they would be able to get. In Tamil Nadu and Kerala, my analysis is the vote share of the BJP in Kerala and the vote share of the alliance in Tamil Nadu will definitely go up. But will that increase in vote share translate itself into seats is a big question mark. Will they open their account in Kerala this time? Many believe that yes, they will open their account, but only open their account, not go beyond opening their account. In Tamil Nadu, the BJP itself may win a few seats, could win a few seats. Its partner, especially the PNK, could also win a seat or 2. Now, I think what the BJP alliance is looking for in Tamil Nadu is to displace the Anna DMK alliance to the 3rd position, so that in future elections they see it as a competition between the DMK-led alliance and the BJP-led alliance. That's their aim. To break into this competition in a state where the competition was between two alliances led by two Dravidian parties. Remember, from 1977 to now, the Anna DMK and DMK alliances have between them got 70 to 96% of the votes. So now BJP is making that input of trying to say we will be the second largest alliance, and that's what they are looking to this election for.
Also, another state that Amit Shah has been pinning great hopes on is West Bengal. Now they are looking to garner about 30 seats there. Now let's look at the TMC hit back on the Sandesh Kali factor. Also, TMC has reaped the benefits of Lakshmi Bhandar scheme, according to many experts. So, how do you see this very important state, like you mentioned in the beginning?
I think West Bengal is critical. The 2019 elections saw the BJP climb up and do well in West Bengal, though it could not displace the dominance of the TMC. The BJP's hope is this time the momentum they built up in 2019 will be taken forward. I think 3 points I would like to focus on with regard to West Bengal. Number one, what you mentioned, Sandesh Kali will have an impact. Has the TMC come up with its response a bit too late in the day, by which time voters had already formed an opinion about the issue? Secondly, I think the welfare schemes of the West Bengal government is something the government is focusing on quite strongly. And thirdly, what actually got them the victory last time around, their focus on the Bangla identity and the Bangla pride. I think even today, the BJP is relying on its central leadership to win them West Bengal. And they have not been able to groom a leader at the state level who can, in Bengali, respond to and challenge Mamata Banerjee. So the contest is between Mamata Banerjee and the central leadership of the BJP. So until that state level mass leadership develops, I think the BJP would have a challenge in actually breaking further ground in West Bengal.
Okay. Now finally, my last question. BJP was speaking of Agli Bar, 400 Bar. So now, in a very, kind of a very prudent attitude, nobody is talking of 400 Bar. So where do you think the BJP NDA will land? Where do you think the India and the Congress alliance will land? Finally, when we look at June 4th.
You see, I think there are two scenarios. Worst case scenario for the BJP is remaining where they are or even slipping closer to the halfway line. That is something which would be far away from their 370 promise. The best case scenario would be for them to be a little better than what they are today. Because remember, last time the allies were 50. This time the allies are seen as not getting more than 30 seats. That's why 370 and 400 is the numbers they're talking about. If you look at the last Lok Sabha, the NDA, the non-BJP NDA was 50 seats. So there itself they made a concession and said, we will not be more than 30 non-BJP NDA. So best case scenario, a little more than where they are today in terms of the BJP and their allies bringing in 30 more seats. So I think 370 was a mission, and we always keep a mission which is far ahead what we can actually achieve. And 400 Par was again a mission, but as you rightly said, that's not spoken about as much, especially after the first 3 rounds of voting is happened.
Absolutely. Nobody's talking about it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.